Right then, good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, hello, whatever it is, wherever you are. Happy Christmas if the big day has started. Happy whatever if it's the day after the big day. My name is Paul. Like I said, I do Knickknacks Daily Teaser, which is a set of quizzes. I write to the blog that is Knickknacks Old Peculiar. I talk about TV shows I've watched and which I think you might want to hear my opinions thereof. I watch a lot of Doctor Who and Star Trek and other bits and bobs. And given it's Christmas Eve at the time of recording, last night was the 23rd of December, and I watched the BBC's new release on BBC 4, The War Games in Colour. It's a colourised version of Patrick Troughton's last adventure as the Doctor, and I thought you might want to know what I thought about the show. This is me telling you. The War Games in Colour opens with the usual universe ident and then shifts to a mocked-up continuity announcement telling us about a show that sees the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury all in terrible danger, and then shows us the sight of the TARDIS zooming towards somewhere we assume is Earth and landing in what looks suspiciously like a bomb crater. One that, as the Doctor explains to Jamie and Zoe, is in part of one of the most terrible times on planet Earth, something the pair come to realise as the bombs start to fly again. Post-titles, our heroes are met by an ambulance driver called Lady Jennifer, played by Jane Sherwin, who, on her way to Ypres, has driven through an uncanny, weird, mysterious mist and managed to lose her way, and her memories of where she is, and the realisation of quite how far behind the line she is. She's happy to take our three heroes to wherever they need to go until all of them are captured by German soldiers and then rescued by Lieutenant Carstairs, David Saville. Lieutenant Carstairs takes Lady Jennifer and the Doctor's small group to the nearest Allied command post, where General Smythe, the officer commanding, holds an immediate trial and sentences the Doctor to be shot at dawn. Do you get the feeling this is going to be a long 90 minutes? Now, Paul, I hear you cry. What did you make of this colourised edited version of the War Games? Was it good, bad, indifferent, or just plain dribbling? Was there, I hear you say, a screaming huge pile of nepotism involved? I don't know about piles. I really don't know. But Lady Jennifer, the ambulance driver we've discussed, was played...
22:15.
Thank you, Keller. Lady Jennifer, the ambulance driver, was played by Jane Sherwin, the wife of Doctor Who's then producer, Derek Sherwin, who oversaw the transformation from black and white to colour with John Pertwee's first episodes. Additionally, in the story as originally broadcast in 1969, but not in this colourised version, there's a small part played by David Troughton, son of Patrick Troughton. So if that counts as lots of nepotism, then it's lots of nepotism. But it's probably a minor amount of nepotism in the long term and not necessarily what you're asking about now, is it? You're wanting to know what I made of this version of the War Games. For a start, the colorisation technique. I caught the Daleks in colour last year, the colourised version of the first Dalek story, and I have to confess it was nicely done. It wasn't perfect, but it was nicely done. Just to give you an example of where it wasn't perfect, I felt the colorisation of at least one scene where the Doctor, Ian and Susan are in what I think of as the Geiger counter room. It seemed slightly off. About half of the screen or of the images were coloured, with a noticeable pinkish sheen to the coloured areas, and other side of the screen looked distinctly black and white. It's something I felt that at the time was because this was a new technique. It was new software, new technology, and it was being used, moreover, on a badly lit scene, or at least a badly lit scene by today's standards. There's a similarly lit scene in the War Games in Colour of the Time Lord trial at the end of the last episode, or what in the full version is the end of the last episode. But while there's a lot of purple tinting in the scene, I think the light in the roof of the courtroom is supposed to be lilac. While there's a certain amount of purplish tinting in the scene, the skin tones and general colouring seem to have improved since the Dalek story. That tinting is less noticeable. The colouring for the rest of the story, especially for the location filming and for better lit interior sets, and in the First World War sets, both that and the Warlord's base, was absolutely spot on, with the possible exceptions of Jamie's maraschino kilt and the blue of Troughton's shirt. You can be forgiven for thinking that these scenes had actually been filmed in colour. They, to me, certainly look that good. The technology has come quite the distance in the year since the Daleks in colour. Then there's the editing. If you know anything about the Daleks, the first classic Doctor Who story to get this colorization treatment, and the first original Dalek story, you'll know that, as broadcast, the story was told over 7 episodes of roughly 25 minutes each for a total running time of some 2 hours and 55 minutes, just shy of 3 hours, against the 75 minutes, the 1.25 hour runtime of the Daleks in colour. Now compare that to the 10 25-minute episodes of the original broadcast of the War Games, 4 hours and 10 minutes of broadcast material that's been turned into a 90-minute feature film for last night's airing. Given that amount of heavy editing, I think the War Games in Colour is a superb piece of work. The editors of this have done a far better job, I feel, of the Daleks in Colour. The latter had a lot of repetition and a lot of repeated flashback scenes. This version of the War Games seems far more coherent and less repetitive than the colorized version of the Daleks. I think the music, additionally, I don't know how much extra music there was or contribution from Mark Ayres of the Radiophonic Workshop, but the music, if it was changed, also seemed less intrusive. Granted, also, that in the War Games in Colour, there is a scene where the chief scientist is knocked out and then seen back in action only a couple of minutes later. I think that would have been in the original run, would have been in 2 or 3 separate episodes. And granted, some of the rebel characters get less time in this version than they do in the original series. We get less time seeing who they are, basically. Even given all of that, this version of the War Games seems far more coherent than last year's The Daleks in Colour. There's a few other things I noticed, or a few things, I should say, that I noticed about the War Games in Colour. The Anderson-esque work, or model work for the Warlord's base, that was new to me, as were the shots of the side rats flying through space, and the glow in one of the Time Lord's eyes at the trial scenes at the end of the story. They were all new, or at least they were all new to me, something I'd not seen before. The side rat, pointless trivia, I always thought it was Sid Rat. There you go. And the glow in the Time Lord's eyes was something I found reminiscent of the Eric Roberts version of The Master from the 96 movie. But these were things, and I'll say this again just to get it out of the way and get myself back on script, was something that was new to me. They're things that I think have been added to to this edition. The producers have also included new clips during the all-important trial scenes, colorized shots of Daleks from The Power of the Daleks, and of Ice Warriors from their original appearance. And when the Doctor is offered a choice of new face for his exile to Earth, we see a montage of new series Doctors as his alternative new faces. The 12th Doctor is described as too old, the 10th Doctor is too thin, the 13th too young, and Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, they won't do it all. Forgive the bad impression, but at any rate, it's something that, going by some of the stuff I've seen on social media, people weren't necessarily impressed by. I thought it was fun. It's, as originally intended, a new variation of comic release at a serious moment in the story. Then there's the last part of this episode. It's the newly created additional scene of the second Doctor regenerating into the third Doctor, not something that was seen at the time in the late 60s and early 70s. It's something that I have only half an idea of how it was done. Troughton and Pertwee's faces were lifted from whatever surviving footage was available and composited onto a motion captured performer in a chair, holding his hands up as if regenerating, and all of that then rendered down and composited onto the original TARDIS set. However it was done...
It's 22:30.
Thank you, Killer. However it was done, it looked good, and it was a suitable end to a huge job of work. So, in all honesty, what did I make of the War Games in colour? Of it, any Blu-rays releases, and any future in colour broadcasts? Let's sort out that first question, shall we? I think the actual War Games in colour was very well done. The colorization process has made the story look absolutely gorgeous, and the way that the episodes have been cut together and edited together makes a 4-hour TV series into an entertaining 90-minute movie. It's beautifully done. Should other such colorized editions be done? I don't know right here and now, even though I was fairly convinced they should be when I watched the Daleks in colour. Going by the two that we've had so far, any others that are made are going to look good and be well done. I just don't know if they should be done, not necessarily if they could be done. If any of them are, they will need to add something special to the story, in much the same way that both the Daleks in colour and the War Games in colour added extra value to the stories they were telling. The Daleks in colour was colorised. The War Games in colour had far better colorisation and was updated and had extra scenes. And that brings me to my next point, which is simply this: the Blu-ray release of the War Games in colours. I got the Blu-ray release of the Daleks in colour when it was first released earlier in 2024. And it had the colorised version of the story, plus a 12-minute making-of documentary, plus the original broadcast episodes of the story, and the DVD extras in standard definition. Pay attention there. Standard definition. So beyond the main feature and beyond a 12-minute puff piece, there was nothing actually new. The original episodes weren't even upscaled for modern TVs. They were the 4:3 versions that you would get had you bought the DVD versions. They weren't modernised in any particular way. Like the versions in the Doctor Who, the collection sets, they're all upscaled. These weren't. I was pleased to have the Daleks in colour because the colorized version was new to me and good to watch. But I felt that the BBC could have added extra value somewhere, even if it was something simple like upscaling the original broadcast episodes. Why complain? I hear you ask. Why bring that up right here and now? Remember that I'm writing this on Christmas Eve 2024, on the 24th of December 2024. And I've noticed this morning that the Blu-ray release of the War Games in colour is already listed for pre-order on Amazon. And again, it's identical to the earlier The Daleks in Colour release. It's the new colour version, plus the stuff from the original DVD release, plus what Amazon describes as recovered footage not seen since the original broadcast. Quite what that is, I don't know. But I'm willing to bet none of it would have been upscaled for modern TV sets. Personally, I feel the production I saw last night on BBC4's HD channel, the version I saw of the War Games, was well done. It was an entertaining, well made, well put together, technically very impressive piece of work and worth your time and my money. But given the advertised content of the Blu-ray release, I feel the BBC are letting us down with that physical release. I'll leave you to think about that, shall we? When I seek into the next bit of this video. Right, that's it for the moment. It's getting late and I'm going to go to bed once I've actually edited together all these various bits and bobs. I will, however, say goodnight to you all, and I will say thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've seen, and if you enjoy lots of pointless quizzes, you will get a few of those. Please feel free to tip. I'll leave the details in the corner there. Please have a very good Christmas, if it's still Christmas in 2024. If it's not, have a very good day. I hope your day and your year and your life are going well. Take care, have fun, keep it wibbly wobbling, and to quote Patrick McGowan, be seeing you.